And Haley was right. Or to borrow another line from a regular speaker at CPAC a few years back, we need to remind our neighbors and friends every single day that a recession is when your neighbor loses his job. A depression is when you lose your job. And a recovery is when Nancy Pelosi loses her job. Second, to win back America, we need to elect a conservative Congress in 2010. To turn this country around, we don't just need a Republican majority, we need a conservative majority on Capitol Hill. We need men and women committed to fight for a strong defense, for limited government, and for traditional moral values without apology. You know, I've said for years, I'm a conservative, but I'm not in a bad mood about it. We need you to go out there and find more happy warriors and back them all the way. Cheerful conservatives who will take our message to every community, every neighborhood, and every American, regardless of race or creed or color. And lastly, to win back America, we've got to offer solutions grounded in the timeless principles of the American founding. There's nothing that ails this country that couldn't be fixed by paying more careful attention to the principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of America. To win back America, we have to offer the American people real solutions to the challenges facing this country at home and abroad. The American people are looking for answers, and Lord knows we need them. Despite the political gains of the last year, men and women, America is changing, and she is not changing for the better. A nation conceived in liberty has come of age in bondage to big government. We've lost respect in the world, we're going broke, and our social and cultural fabric is unraveling. During similar times, Margaret Thatcher told her Conservative Party in 1976 these words. She said, "Britain is on its knees. By those old enough to remember the sacrifices of the war, and by the young born since the war, we have seen too much national failure. Hope has withered. Faith has gone sour. And for we who remain, it is close to midnight." America's not yet on its knees, but it is bowed by years of fiscal recklessness, debt, and cultural decline. You know, I'm told that officials in this administration will actually admit in private that they see their job as, quote, managing American decline. But let me say from my heart, the job of the American president is not to manage American decline. The job of the American president is to reverse it. Our movement must produce solutions that will return our national government to the common sense and the common values of everyday Americans. So how do we do it? Well, first, we reverse American decline by doing what is necessary to defend this nation at home and abroad. This means giving the American soldiers the resources they need to get the job done and come home safe from Afghanistan and Iraq. It means giving our intelligence communities the tools to fight the war in terror like a war. And it means ending the era where we put international public relations ahead of public safety. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and his cohorts should not be tried in our courts. They should be tried in a military tribunal at Guantanamo Bay. And it means being prepared to confront rogue regimes like North Korea and Iran. Let the world know this, if nothing else. America stands with Israel. And it also means being prepared to defend our security today and tomorrow. As Communist China continues to build its military at a frenetic pace, our relationship with China should look like this. One hand extended in diplomacy and trade, and the other hand resting comfortably on the holster of the arsenal of democracy. And closer to home, we reverse American decline by getting back some good old common sense. The American people know we can't borrow and spend and bail our way back to a growing country. They know that deficits and debt threaten our prosperity and our posterity. They know we can't bail out every failing business in America, and they know the freedom to succeed must include the freedom to fail. And you know, this is not just about economics. One bailout after another, one takeover after another is not just bankrupting our government. It's bankrupting our national character. Separating people from the consequences of failure corrodes the fundamental virtue of the American people and is a prescription for permanent economic decline. So we have to end the era of runaway spending, borrowing, and bailouts, but fiscal discipline alone is not enough. We need to renew the incentive in America to create, to build, to achieve, and excel, permitting people to enjoy the fruits of their labor, built our cities, conquered our frontiers, and is what made America the most powerful economy in the history of the world. We must return incentive to the American people. But you know, that's not the president's approach. I was with him in Baltimore the other day. I had to ask him twice if he'd support across-the-board tax cuts, the way John F. Kennedy did, the way Ronald Reagan did. And I think the president pretty much said that he'd support across-the-board tax cuts, as long as they weren't across the board. I mean, this whole thing about not wanting to do tax cuts for the rich, it's a phobia on that side of the aisle. Kind of reminds me of a time a pipe fitter came up to Ronald Reagan when he was running for president. He'd been being criticized for the very same thing. This pipe fitter apparently walked up holding his hat in his hand. He said, "Governor Reagan," he said, "I heard you're being criticized for those tax cuts for the rich, but I want you to go ahead and pass those tax cuts for the rich because I ain't never been hired by a poor man." Now look, the American people know what works and what doesn't. To reverse economic decline, we need fiscal discipline in Washington, D.C., and fast-acting across-the-board tax relief for working families, small businesses, and family farms. Get government under control, get government out of the way, and America will come roaring back. I promise you. And finally, to reverse American decline, we should recognize that our present crisis is not merely economic and political, but moral in nature. We must win back America for the fundamental traditional values of the American people, the sanctity of life and the sanctity of marriage.